are back. That's right. We are back to the Race and Ethnic Relations podcast show. That's right. Back to Race and Ethnic Relations podcast show. I am Dr. B. Welcome back to our show. This is show number 72. That's right. Show number 72. And it's entitled Race Relations. Understanding the impact on your career and life. Wow, that's right. Race relations. Understanding the impact on your career and life. There you go. That's the title of this show. And again, it's great to be back. It's been a very busy couple of months, and so that's a little bit of why I was delayed in with the next show, because there's just so many activities with my classes at the university, my research, my service, and all the activities going on during this beginning part. It's still spring semester after spring break and everything. So again, I tried to maximize my time as best way I can, and now I do have the time after grading all these exams and all this and doing the research and all of that. But guess what came to my mind? The importance of race relations and understanding the impact on your career and life. That is so important because I get a sense among my college students, which I truly enjoy interacting with and teaching next class. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching the Race and Ethnic Relations class right now this semester, and it's a large class. And it's very enjoyable. Yet there's always new issues coming up, and this is 2023, and it just reminds you that I always have to slow my students down and go over the basics, because sometimes we get so wrapped up into proving one's agenda or statement or stance on this or that. Because everyone's so tense and tight. And just talking about, lecturing about race, ethnicity, culture, it comes with a lot of still unfortunate tension for whatever reason. So I just try to remind folks how important race relations is. Not just on your getting along with your fellow colleague and students on campus, but it affects your career and affects your life. So in this show, I'm almost 4 minutes in. And by the way, I just went into this show. I want to let me just do a quick shout out. See, I'm so focused on this topic already. You can tell I've been waiting to do this the next show 72 for quite. I forgot to thank all the listeners, all the platforms, all the podcast platforms out. Thank you, iTunes. Thank you, Spotify. Thank you, Amazon and Music and Audible. Thank you, iHeartRadio. Thank you, Podbean for showcasing our podcast over the years. Thank you for all the different platforms out there. Samsung. And the other platforms out there, I'm missing a number of them. Google Play. But thank you for all the platforms and the listeners out there. And for those of you, oh my gosh, I'm. Let me just say this real fast. I've been looking at some of my data and where my listeners are coming from. Thank you. The different parts of the world, listening to race and ethnic relations, and different parts of certain parts of the United States. A quick shout out to Delaware. Yes, the state of Delaware. Thank you. So I just want to give a quick shout out there. Please drop me an email if you're listening from Delaware. Please drop me an email if you're listening from France. Please drop me an email if you're listening from Nigeria. Please drop me an email. So let me get to my topic. Again, I'm going to do another shout out a little bit later. But just a reminder of the importance of race relations. And this goes to my book, my 2018 book, Race and Ethnic Relations on Campus, Understanding Empowerment and Solutions for College Students. And that's the reason why I did this book. Because people get too wound up and don't slow down and recognize the importance of these concepts. And now I'm going to read the Chapter 2, starting off with the typical campus race and ethnic relations. I start off this chapter with defining race relations. And this is why it's so important. I'm going to read this first segment and then elaborate. Here we go. Chapter 2. When we address race and ethnic relations in the college-university setting, the specifics differ somewhat from how the average U.S. citizen confronts the topic. Basically, race and ethnic relations refer to the ways in which people of different heritages, race, and ethnicities living together in the same community behave toward one another. In other words, for us, it raises questions of how college students of different race and ethnic backgrounds, 1, get along with each other daily on campus, 2, live together in dorms and apartments as roommates, 3, eat together at the campus cafeterias and local eateries, 4, attend classes together, 5, and classes together, whether it's in a lecture hall, face-to-face, or even online. 5, participate in social events on campus. 6, attend parties and bars together. 7, get along with each other as teammates on a college athletic team. 8, participate in student body organizations and fraternity sorority activities. 9, compete to receive special honors and recognitions throughout their college years. 10, prepare for graduation. And 11, compete for available job and graduate school opportunities during the next stage of their development. Those are elements, areas in which race relations is so important, and developing positive race relations while you are in college is significantly important. And I bring this up because it's so important when you go to college. It's this newfound freedom. It's a newfound freedom. I remember when I went to college back in the day in the 70s. It was newfound freedom. I went to college, left my area, my small rural area of Wilberforce, Ohio, and went to Miami University in Ohio. And it was a new beginning. And I was immersed into completely different world. when majority, 99.9% of folks were different than me. There I was, an African American in the midst of Miami University, Ohio, Oxford, Ohio, predominantly white, Caucasian, Euro-American students. And I threw myself both feet in. And my parents just loved me going to Miami University in Ohio. Loved it. And I loved it because it was a new experience. Completely new experience. 24 hours a day. Complete different orientation. And that's where I knew I had to get along with others who were different than me on a daily basis. I lived in the dorms and apartments in Oxford, Ohio. We ate together in the campus cafeteria in local eateries, attended classes with folks that were different than me, participated in social events, attended college parties. Yes, I did. And got along with my teammates. I even played football back in the day, yes, at Miami University. Got along with my football teammates. Competed with special honors. And all these things that I just said I went through. And back in the 70s. And I'm telling students today in 2023, it's so important to establish positive race relations at this stage of your young career. And the reason why it's so important, it prepares you for real life. What I experienced back then, wow, I thoroughly appreciate. It was challenging, and I found a way to get along with folks that were completely different than me and recognize their life experiences were so similar to my life experience. Many times, let me just say this, a person of color, again, we have all various life experience. Everyone does. But when you slow things down, this is what I do slow things down in my own class. Students start to recognize they have so much in common. That's right, I said so much in common. But here's the difference today. Here goes Dr. B. Here's the difference today in 2023. A lot of students think that their situation is so different. Unfortunately, what I'm getting from my students over the past 30-some years, but particularly over the past 5 to 10 years, really the past 5 years, that many times students think their worlds are so vastly different from the student sitting next to them in class. Vastly different. And the reason why, here I go. Oh my gosh, here I go. And here's the I'm giving you a little insight. Here's the reason why students today, yes, I can say this because my students tell me this. By the end of they tell me this. So here's the difference. Students have been isolated in their protected bubble. And I may have said this in an earlier podcast, but it's really needed to say again. Now in 2023, spring of 2023, March of 2023, March 22nd, 2023. Students feel like there's so much in a bubble. So much is going on, happening to them and their group of folks that it's not happening to other folks. That they didn't experience similar ways of life. Now, granted, each and every one of us have unique histories, unique cultural traditions, values, patterns. And there's no doubt about that in our history. And everyone should embrace their own particular history, family history, ethnic history, racial history, societal history. But when you slow things down, when you're going to your respective college or university and you're taking classes together at your big college, medium-sized college, or small college or university, you slow things down. Students recognize they have a lot in common. There's so much in common. And then, how do you behave towards a person who you do not know their culture, their background is so important. Because he or she can connect with each and every individual once they get over the idea that they're so unique. Again, like I said, everyone has the uniqueness, but we're not that unique from the person who you're sitting by in your lecture hall or online in your class. There's so many common issues, so many common attributes. And I definitely have to remind my students today, more so than ever, recognize your common traits, patterns. And I believe I'm going to have a follow-up show on this. My mind is going in that direction already because I know I have to do it now. But sometimes, and it happens to all of us, we're so charged up, so emotional. And we want to, say, I am so unique. And no other group has my same uniqueness. That's fine on one hand, but when you slow it down, you taper it down, you recognize that so many groups have experienced not the exact same thing, but a different type of event. Situation that causes to have a certain reaction to others and at others in not so good ways. And I remind my students today that this is the time. Here we go. This is the time, your protected time at the university, at the college, your protected time to get your stuff together. To get your stuff together. And what I mean by stuff, get your race relations skills together. That's right. Get your race and ethnic relations skills together now in college. This is the time. That's the reason why I say understanding the impact of race relations on your career and most importantly, your life. This is the time. Like I said, some of you are separated from family that you were growing up. Your mom and dad, your parents, grandparents, relatives, and now you're at the university, college. Whether you're on college or even just taking online classes from afar, you're still experiencing a new environment. Take advantage of this interactions, engagement, immersion. This immersion in your college, university, with other groups of folks who have different experiences than you, who look different, who talk different. This is your time to build upon your race relations skill and hopefully positively. Of course, there's going to be some negative uncertainty. Of course, there's going to be some pushback. That's what it's all about. It's not going to be a, oh my gosh, we all get along together, we hold hands. No, it's not like that. It's going to be some tough times to get through when you're talking about practical issues that happen in real life. And it's okay to change points of view or not come together at the very beginning. That's natural. Yet you should be reminded you're going to have to get along with folks more than likely when you graduate from college. Get along with folks who do not look like you. It's just the way the world is in 2023 and beyond. And we were saying this, oh my gosh, we were saying this way back in the 70s. And that's the reason why I attended a university that I did, to prepare myself for the real world. Hello! Prepare myself. And my parents wanted me to get ready for the real world. And I'm so glad that I did. And I want my students today to truly appreciate the experience and the exposure to other groups in my race and ethnic relations class, but in all my classes. I teach my graduate class. I even say the same type of issues in my graduate classes. But like I said, during the past 5 years, this is so important. Race relations is significantly important. And here's as you know, here's the other caveat. You know what's happened over the past 3 years because of COVID and everything shut down. We were isolated. All of us were isolated. But before COVID, we were still isolated. People started, I'm just seeing my students isolating themselves on their phone and new technology. Not interacting with their fellow colleagues. This was happening, 5 years ago before COVID. I'm not going to blame everything on, seems like everyone's blaming everything on COVID now, the impact. But this was happening a bit before COVID. No doubt about it. But COVID made things drastically, unfortunately worse. But it brought out the pattern of what was really happening. It made it convenient for my students to stay further isolated. Yeah, COVID and the restrictions that we had from COVID made, unfortunately, my students feel even more isolated and allowed them to be more isolated. And they felt comfortable with it. Now, after COVID, it's a challenge to get my students back. And it's going to take some time. I know that. It's going to take some time to get my students back together, engaging on a regular basis. It's going to take some time. But I'm bringing it up now. Because I can feel that they've been isolated. And now they're coming back in my classes, whether it's face-to-face or online. They need to recognize the importance of positive race relations. Positive race relations is so important. And I'm going to read the final paragraph on this in this chapter of chapter 2. The final paragraph, which really provides the reason why I think race relations is so key to now for particularly Gen Z students, my Gen Z students. This is why it's so important. Here's the last paragraph on chapter 2. The best college or university experience helps to establish healthy and productive race and ethnic relations on each campus. It is also university policies, the academic curriculum, and the wide variety of social activities on campus for all students that encourage the typical college student to develop a positive pattern for race and ethnic relations. This is why developing a strong, supportive, engaging college experience for all students will dramatically enhance their race and ethnic relations during their years attending college, as well as the rest of their adult lives. Wow. That's the impact of a positive race relations. And that's the reason, another reason, the essence of why I wrote the book. I want college students today, those who just graduated, those who are in the system now and in the near future who are coming, I want see more positive race relations, because I know the impact that it has, not just on their career, but their life. And extends out to their family and extended family. It's real life. That's the importance of positive race and ethnic relations. There you go. This is show number 72. And I know it was building. And I'm going to have a follow-up to that. I already know what the follow-up show is going to be. But I have to stop right there and remind you of the definition and the impact of race relations. Again, this is show 72, race relations, understanding the impact on your career and life. I hope everything is still moving forward on my podcast. I see it's still moving forward. Hopefully it was. And I just want to thank all my listeners. I want to thank all the listeners out there and all the podcast platforms. I want to thank Podbean. Thank you, Podbean. Thank you, Podbean, for doing all this. Thank you, Podbean. Thank you, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, a Samsung podcast. And I want to give a quick shout out to, all my listeners in Delaware. I want all my listeners in France and also in Taiwan. Thank you for listening. And again, I want to thank my home folks back in Wilberforce. You know who you are back in Wilberforce, Ohio. I want to thank my home folks and my folks in Wilberforce and Xenia, my folks in Xenia, Ohio, and my folks in, Miami University in Ohio, Oxford, Ohio. This is Race and Ethnic Relations Podcast show number 72, entitled Race Relations, Understanding the Impact on Your Career and Life. I am Dr. Beatty. Have a great spring and make things positive in race relations. We out.